Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hang out with these nerds.
Nathan Nerdarch.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And join us in our Learn to Play D&D series, where this time Nerdarchy leaps into action as we explain the actions in Dungeons & Dragons. First off, we want to start this video by thanking Easy Roller Dice for sponsoring it. Whether it's your first set of dice or your 1,000,000th set of dice, Easy Roller Dice. Down in the description below, you can find a link to easyrollerdice.com/nerdarchy, as well as a special one-time 20% promo code. Go get your Easy Roller Dice.
All right, so we're doing our intro to D&D series, and this time we're going to talk about actions.
Yes, before you can get into the specifics of combat, we have to understand what actions we can take and the order that they happen in.
All right, so what type of actions do we really have to work with within 5th edition?
I believe there's 4 basic categories.
So we've got movement, we've got standard move action, standard action, bonus action, and a reaction.
Correct. And they all have their own special rules.
Right. So movement breaks down, I think, pretty simply, and this is every character has a speed value, and if you take a move action, you have the ability to move up to that speed action during the scope of your turn.
Now that might get changed up a little bit if, for whatever reason, your character has other ways of moving, whether it's climbing, jumping, or flying. But basically, any movement you do is going to subtract from the largest number of movement you have. And that's how it's going to get determined.
Speaking of different things with movement, you could also use your movement to stand up if you're knocked down or on the ground.
It takes half your movement to stand up.
Yes.
Since sometimes you're going to use half your movement, you can technically use some of your movement, do another action, then continue your movement.
Yes, you're not limited to, okay, this is the movement phase, this is my standard action phase, my bonus phase, my reaction phase. You actually get to mix and match them up how they make sense in the turn, right?
And we'll get into the actual how combat flows in a subsequent video.
It's worth mentioning, during your move action, there are simple actions that sometimes you can take. They don't actually require any extra action, like opening or closing a door. You can just do that as part of your movement action.
Yeah, that is considered like interacting with a small object. So you can draw or stow a weapon, ready a shield, or even, foregoing items, communicating. You're allowed to just talk.
Yeah, so some of these things they become part of the other action, so whatever makes sense. In the case of opening, shutting the door, that might be part of your movement. A case of drawing or sheathing a weapon, that might be part of your standard action. But you only get to do one of these freebies around, pretty much.
Right.
So that's worth noting as well. So with that, let's go into standard action. This is where the bulk of the fun stuff's going to happen.
All right, so when you get into combat, the things that you're going to do more often than not are going to be do an attack or to cast a spell.
And those are part of your standard.
And those are both standard actions. You're typically not going to do both because you only get one standard action.
That is correct. But are there other things we can do with our standard action?
There's absolutely loads of options, and we're going to get into some of them here that are going to come up far more often. Now, there's times that you might be moving towards an enemy and you haven't got there. So you can actually take the dash action, and this is going to allow you to actually get closer to the enemy. It essentially gives you an extra move action.
Also, too, worth mentioning, too, which kind of goes with the movement section, and that is sometimes you might be required to make an ability check in addition to your movement, so it becomes part of it.
There's other times that you actually want to get away from an enemy. It's been deemed that they're too powerful for you to take. You want to run, so instead of actually using your attack action on them, you're going to use your dash action to move away.
To be faster.
Because, if you move twice your speed, that's going to get you further away than just once.
In one of our previous videos, we had talked about disadvantage and advantage on the D20 roll. And there's several ways that can come up, and usually it comes up as part of the standard action. What are some of those ways?
Well, you can always take the help action, which is going to assist someone close by that's going to let them have advantage on whatever they're doing.
So the way those would break down, I'm an okay combatant, but Nate is much better. He's gonna do more damage. So if I decide, you know what, I'm going to use the help action, so I don't get an attack. I'm choosing to take the help action to make it easier for my friend Nate to get a better attack roll on his opponent. So instead of rolling 1 die, he rolls 2, choosing the better of the 2.
And he's not helping me swing my sword. He's just getting in the way in combat in a beneficial way for the person they're helping.
I'm helping you get a better opening.
Yeah, exactly. Another action you can take is the dodge action, and that will give the opponents attacking you disadvantage on their attack rolls, as well as giving you advantage on your dex saves.
I can see how that would be extremely useful at times.
So those are just some of the actions that work with the advantage disadvantage mechanic. But there is another type of action that we'll get to in a moment, but we have to bring it up because there's the ready action, and this is gonna call to that reaction mechanic.
Okay, so the reaction is one of those things that doesn't come up nearly as often as the other types of actions, and it requires a special class, race, or some other feature that is going to invoke it, like the ready action as well. And the thing that's really interesting about the reaction is it actually interrupts someone else's turn. So if someone does something, say they try to run away from you by using their dash action, like Ted said earlier, but all they do is run away from you. Well, that leaves them open and vulnerable for your attack. So you could use your reaction to try and stab them as they run away. Or, maybe you have a spell that you can cast as a reaction to something that's going on, and it will actually go off before that thing happens, maybe even preventing you from being harmed. The ready action, like you mentioned, is during your turn, maybe you don't have something to do, or you're worried about something happening, and maybe you're like, well, I'm going to wait for the wizard and see if he looks like he's going to cast a spell. If he looks like he tries to say anything, I'm going to punch him right in his throat. Would be an example of a ready action. Now, you're going to use your reaction when that thing happens to take your turn, but if the wizard never tries to cast a spell, you kind of lose your turn.
Yeah, that's because they work off of the triggering system.
So it's always important to know that before you want to do the ready action, that you're confident that that's going to happen.
Then that brings us to the last type of action.
And that's the bonus action. Now, just like the reaction, the bonus action is something that's only going to come up in specific examples, whether it be a race or class or special feature that you're actually getting access to that's going to allow this. Now, some classes, they use their bonus action quite frequently, where other classes, they don't really use it all that often.
Yeah, you might have to pick and choose. Like you said, certain special abilities, or if maybe you're fighting with an offhand weapon, that would be a bonus action to attack with it. But bonus action is going to also be something that's kind of circumstantial to specific situations in the game.
It's the type of classes that are actually going to get more use out of the bonus action. Rogues and monks, they actually have things that they can specifically do with that bonus action, as well as many spellcasters actually have spells that fall into it takes a bonus action to cast.
And there's a whole slew of special rules just around that, which we'll get into when we cover spells in a later video.
So if you have any questions on using actions, you can put those in the comments below. Either ourselves or one of our awesome fans will be more than happy to help you out and answer those questions for you. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to stop by the description where you find that link to EasyRollerDice /Nerdarchy, as well as get your one-time promo code.
You can also check out the articles over at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.